2020, Zoe Laverne, who at the time was 19, had faced a lot of backlash because of videos and photos that had been leaked from her Finsta of her kissing and having a relationship with a 13-year-old fan called Connor. At the time, this was super controversial and the public was not happy about it. Many had accused her of grooming and exploiting a minor, yet Zoe shrugged off these claims and said that this was a mutual relationship. Let me just repeat, Zoe was 19 and Connor was 13. So even if it was a mutual relationship, this was a problematic relationship. Despite there being a lot of evidence, she faced zero consequences and Connor remained mostly silent because of his age. This was 5 years ago and Connor has recently spoke out on TikTok about what happened to him. If you want the full backstory to Zoe, please watch this video that I recently posted because I feel like it gives you a lot of insight into her as a person. But this video will strictly be focusing on what Connor has come out and said recently in his new TikTok. I do want to preface though that this is all alleged. If you do see me looking off to the side, it's because I'm reading my notes. So Connor posted a 9-minute TikTok and I will be playing the important parts just so you can hear it from Connor himself. The TikTok starts off with him introducing himself and saying that he was statutory by Zoe at age 13. He does not call Zoe out by name, he says popular TikTok influencer, but I'm pretty sure we can all safely assume that this is allegedly Zoe. He states that the reason it took him so long to come out with his story is because he wanted to press legal charges, which meant he couldn't talk about it on social media. He was kind of worried that the social media side of it would influence the charges or something like that. I do want to bring up this comment that he made on his TikTok, which reads, "Just remember the authorities think this was all a publicity stunt. Let's tell it to my therapist who I still have 5 years later." And he does actually cover this point later in his TikTok. This is just absolutely insane and I feel like really bad for him because looking back, it was just such a wild situation. Like I am 19, I am turning 20 soon, but I could never think of dating a 13-year-old even for like a PR relationship, PR stunt. Like that's still so gross. He then starts off explaining how he met Zoe.
For starters, I was a fan. I did join her fan base in like 2018. I had a fan page and everything. And I went on a tour stop in Washington, D.C. in 2018 to meet her for the very first time. Now at the time, there was a lot of other influencers on this tour. We went to solemnly take pictures. Like it was for fans to meet their favorite creators. Now over the time of 2018 to 2019, she would talk to fans that I ended up becoming friends with. We had mutual friends and I was then introduced to her through, she added me on Snapchat and we would talk every now and then. It was all kept to a normal, cordial level. Now in August of 2019, she had a tour stop in my hometown that I went to, which I went with 2 of my friends, and after the show I was talking with her. She brought me upstairs to see the venue. It was more of a secluded thing from the rest of the people that were there to attend. I also attended another one in December of 2019, so by the 3rd time of me meeting her in person, she knew who I was just based off of seeing me.
Which already here we are establishing that there was a power dynamic between Zoe and Connor because he started off as a fan of Zoe, as a massive fan of Zoe's actually. He then goes on to explain how him and Zoe got more closer. They started having private FaceTimes and then things started to get more personal in April of 2020, which created issues with Zoe and Cody's relationship. And Cody is Zoe's boyfriend at the time. Then Zoe was invited to Connor's birthday, which was in May 2020, but she ended up coming on Memorial Day, which I googled, and Memorial Day was on the 25th of May 2020. I'm not an American, so I actually didn't know that. Zoe and her friend Amber moved to Connor's town permanently in June of 2020, and this is when the inappropriate behaviour begins. I'm going to insert the clip of Connor talking about this himself as it is his story to tell.
Now, prior to her coming and visiting me, she did discuss with me on the phone that she liked me. I thought she was messing around. I thought it was just a funny little prank. She told me that she liked me and that when she came to visit me in May, she wanted to hold my hand. She wanted to, kind of be more intimate. Now, at the time that she had came here, I had just turned 13, maybe a week prior. I had a very close friend group at the time that I would talk to, that I had voiced about being a little uncomfortable with the fact of knowing that she liked me and her still coming here, but I was under the impression I only had to see her for a week, so I was in fear of, if anything were to go wrong, I only have to deal with her for a week and I can move along and not speak to her again. Now, because she did make the ultimate decision to come and move here, we continued to get closer and closer and closer. Now, in June, she did kiss me. She did start to get more personal. She would try to seclude me off from my friends, from my family, try to get me away, whatever. Now, if you were on social media back in this timeline, you could see that I defended her for everything she was ever accused for, canceled for, etc. I was so strung up and just trying to process real life because someone that I'd idolized for years was now living in my hometown, was somebody that was becoming my best friend, someone very close to me. And I was so caught up in just, wow, how is this real? That I wasn't paying attention to what was actively happening to me in the time being. Now, she kissed me, and as time went on, things started picking up to a worse and worse level. She would engage in sexual conversations with me, sending me pictures, calling me on the phone, doing things on the phone with me, etc. Now, keep in mind, I still was very highlighted by the fact that this girl was in my life, because it was a surreal thing to me that I was too afraid to speak up and have her hate me and wonder where things would end up. And a lot of people ask where my parents were at this time, but growing up, I've been bullied all throughout middle school ever since I was younger. I didn't have a lot of friends, so straight off the bat, my parents thought that this was a good thing, and seeing how happy it made me from the start, that they thought that it would be a good thing for us to become friends and for us to be hanging out, whatever. There was obviously a lot of restrictions on things. My mom would question things at times. She never thought that it was not weird, but I gave her that reassurance that things were fine. Now, I specifically remember there was one specific day that we were hanging out and I was at her house, and she had kind of just thrown herself on top of me and asked me if I was ready. My heart was beating super fast, and I still specifically remember her asking me, "Are you okay? Like, your heart's beating super fast, are you okay?" And I was in a moment of shock. I never thought things would ever evolve to this level. This girl had 20 million followers. I knew she had a career on the line. I always told myself she would never, ever do anything to mess with her career or ruin her career. In this moment, I was in a state of shock. She asked me if I was okay and if I wanted to, and I responded with yes, although my body language was very obvious that I was uncomfortable with the situation. This was a continuous event that continued to happen over and over again.
So in October 2020, the story had become public, and obviously everyone was talking about it. It was a very big topic for commentary channels to cover at the time. Connor did actually talk to the police, but at the time he had lied to protect Zoe because he was heavily manipulated and also scared. If anyone judges him for this in the comment, you will be blocked, because in my last Zoe video I had to delete a couple comments that were blaming him for not coming forward. We need to start realizing that this is a 13-year-old child who probably found it super scary to just speak to the police, because being spoken to by the police at that age, you kind of view it as a sign that like you did something wrong, you know. At least that's what I was like when I was his age, and I feel like this is such a stressful situation for a minor to be in, and I 100% understand why he lied to the police, and I hope that you guys watching understand why as well. In addition to all of this though, Zoe did tell Connor that if she went to jail, she would end her life. So he's got so much pressure on him to not tell the truth to the police. He then says that after the police dropped the case, Zoe kept trying to contact him on Snapchat using multiple false accounts, and his family also got harassed and doxxed.
After this, they thought it wasn't a threat, they moved along, and Zoe still tried to pursue a relationship with me because she thought she was in the clear. She would make fake Snapchat accounts to contact with me. My mom cut off contact with us, and she would still make accounts to have desires to speak to me. Now, after this incident, it has been 5 years, and I was bullied out of school, I was harassed, I was assaulted, my family was harassed, I had false CPS reports, my house has been attempted to be swatted, my address was leaked. I've had to face so many repercussions because of this girl. Now, I want to make it clear that I have tried to come out about my story and seek legal justice since then, and they have made every excuse they possibly could to not give me the justice that I deserve. I showed up with receipts, I showed up with proof, I showed up with everything, and they still did not want to believe me. The authorities had told me straight to my face that they had thought this was all conducted under a publicity stunt and we were doing this for views and attention, completely disregarding the straight laws and the straight proof that was right in front of their face. My case was dragged out for almost a year of just back and forth between we can do something, we can't, we can, we can't.
And he ends his TikTok saying that he faces trauma from this experience whilst Zoe walks free. She has never taken accountability, and if anything, the internet kind of just dropped the story as soon as Zoe came out as being pregnant. Zoe's friend Amber had promised Connor to testify, but then she ghosted Connor and the police, which I know this is a terrible thing to do, but we also do not know Amber's motives behind this. Connor did also mention he's going to be releasing a part 2 with all the evidence, which I will be covering on this channel, but I did want to make this video because I feel like more and more victims who went through similar situations like Connor did will start coming out, because there have been so many cases of situations like this on social media, and we do need to start supporting victims on our platform and talking about this so something can be done, so maybe law enforcement takes it more seriously, and just for people to be aware of how common this is. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a really quick one. I just wanted to do a little update because I did cover Zoe Laverne recently. I will hopefully see you in another video. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you again. Bye bye.